made me change clothes today.
We had 3
What is upstairs?
I had on a
Those
pair
are
of shorts and
where
a
my office,
yellow
Public Works,
short
and
sleeve
community
sweatshirt.
development
And she
is.
said, "Are you gonna wear that?"
Yeah.
So I told her I was gonna
behind this
go
wall
home, put
is
on a
different.
button-down
This
shirt with a
is
tie and
right
my
there.
sport coat and my shorts.
But the rest of
Well, I
City
learned
Hall's
not to
upstairs,
say
so.
to my husband, are you going to wear that?
Mhm,
As a result,
it is.
I never know what he's going to appear
Surprise.
It's really nice too to just be
I'm
able
just
to get
kidding.
downstairs and talk to the police
Almost all the
department.
long pants
For
I
me,
have
and
don't
then
fit now.
I know after
I
I had
mean,
a meeting with them,
Yeah,
I got them all
just
pulled
being able
in.
to walk downstairs is.
Rob just wears his pants until they absolutely just
Yes,
fall
we
apart.
do. I'd say the large majority,
He finally got
unless
a pair of
somebody has
jeans
their hands full, we're using the
last Monday.
stairs.
I think he went to the
So.
doctor's and then on the way home.
And it's a
he
flight
got
and a half
some jeans. He got
to
one
get from
pair
the front.
of nice pants.
Yeah, I've got an old
They
Purdue
finished it. It's
sweatshirt,
metal,
green
and they
with the gold
finished it
Purdue on it that
Yesterday.
I got it. Gabe's
Yeah,
when it
yeah.
was over on Oregon.
It's
over
no
on
longer
36.
green.
And it's got to be 25, 30 years old, and the sleeves are all eat out of it. And Patty said, "I'm throwing that away." I said, "You leave that alone. I like that sweatshirt."
I want one like you had today, Kevin. That
Yeah.
was cool.
Well,
liked
I've
it.
got the yellow, I got a maroon, and what's the other one? Green.
I kind of have one. I'll wear mine next week.
Okay.
My brother went to Purdue and got us all Purdue sweatshirts when Christmas is like, you know, where he went shopping.
Yeah.
Hey.
Good evening. Hello.
Uh-huh.
Good evening,
sir.
Another
Heard.
pre-council meeting DUI.
Uh-huh. You gotta stop dressing up.
Oh, no kidding.
It's 7 o'clock.
All Call the meeting to order, for please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and please remain standing. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We are thankful for this special community, for the time we share together, and the bounty of our nation. We are thankful for the commitment of our people who volunteer their time and talents to make our community a better place to live and to work and raise a family. We know that we alone cannot meet the challenges or provide sufficient inspiration without community involvement and dedication of all concerned to the greater good of this city and all who reside in it. We are thankful for this time and for the place that is Frostburg. Amen.
Amen. You all be seated. Never your Amos.
Okay. Commissioner Donnie Carter,
Here.
Commissioner Nina Forsyth,
Here.
Commissioner Kevin Grove,
Here.
Commissioner Adam Ritchie,
Here.
and Mayor Robert Flanagan.
Here, Liz. I need a motion and a second to approve the agenda.
I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
And also approval of the minutes from our past meetings.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes. Second.
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
So we have special presentations and requests. Come on, JJ.
So, thank you, Mayor. So this evening, Commissioner Grove, Mayor Flanagan, and I have the honor to present Corporal Gilk with the department's life-saving award. Several months ago, Corporal Gilk received a call to the police station for the 911 center from an individual who made suicidal remarks. Corporal Gilk went to his location at a hotel, knocked on the door, got no response, so he made entry and found this individual hanging literally from the back of the door. Corporal Gilk's swift and decisive action undoubtedly saved this person's life, got him to the hospital for treatment. I thank you and commend you for your excellent service.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. It's an honor. So we have a certificate, the department's life-saving award certificate, and with that, we have the department's commendation bar for life-saving. Beautiful. Thank you very goes unnoticed. You know, the big arrests and public events really gather a lot of attention. These aren't really in the paper a lot. They don't get a lot of notice, but it's something that's fairly common in police work with mental health and taking people to the hospital and emergency petitions. But this was above and beyond. This was quick thinking on your feet, decisive action to take care of business and save his life. And we thank you sincerely.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Congratulations.
Fantastic.
We have to go to work. Consider somebody else.
Okay, very good.
What needs to-
Mayor and Commissioners' reports and various announcements. We need a motion and a second to approve the reports from the various city departments.
I make a motion that we approve the reports from the various city departments.
Second?
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then moving on to public hearings, ordinance 2021-03.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you. We've discussed this potential ordinance a few times at this point, so I'll keep my review brief. We're seeking to update the text for the ordinance regarding solicitor's permits. Specifically, we'd like to add text that exempts fundraising solicitations by school-aged children. We'd also like to add a seasonal, temporary, mobile business permit effective for a 90-day period. The idea behind this is to allow for solicitation for specific seasonal harvests, such as corn or crabs or other types of seasonal harvests that you could possibly imagine that don't quite fit in the farmer's market scenario. We'd also like to add a requirement that written permission be obtained from a property owner if solicitation is to occur on that property. All requirements based on the type of product offered, which could widely vary, would be researched and effectively put into the permitting process depending on the type of offering. Unless there are any specific questions, and I'll be glad to answer any questions during this public hearing.
Anyone that would like to make comment or have questions, if they could please come to the podium and state their name and address for the record.
Jean Myers, 45 South Water Street. And I read through the ordinance this afternoon, and it mentioned something about a temporary permit for 2 weeks, not 90 days. What was the difference?
Okay, I'd be glad to address that. We have previously offered the option of a short-term mobile temporary business unit permit, and that is the kind of permit that would cover up to a 2-week period, perhaps a book buyback at university adjacent neighborhoods, or perhaps a solicitation from a company like Comcast that would want to gain business for new student residents moving into university adjacent neighborhoods. That type of permit would be a short-term 2-week time frame. The seasonal time frame would be up to 90 days, and we also offer a long-term mobile temporary permit that applies specifically to food trucks and businesses of that nature.
Anyone else? Thank you, LJ.
My pleasure.
Combined sewer overflow monthly public hearing.
9A just went through their inspection for the most recent phase that's been completed. Inspection went well. Just a few things to get done. As far as all of the storm structures, water and sewer, that is all complete. It all passed inspection. Braddock will swing back around and do a little bit of paving when they come for Phase 9C. As far as Phase 9B goes, on the original contract, all of our piping is in. All of our structures are in, except for one cog inlet that's waiting on a water line on the new work that they're installing now. As soon as the water line is done, that inlet goes in. Then they moved to demo some existing sidewalks and some curbs. Once those are done, Thomas will come in and start curbing new curbs next week, and then we move to paving. So 9B is going very well. We should still come in under budget and ahead of schedule on that. And then for 9C, Braddock has been given a notice to proceed on $50,000 to get that set up and rolling. That's the long and the short of it. If there are any questions.
We're all good? Okay. Thank you, Aiden. Okay. And now moving to old business with the ordinance 2021-03.
Mayor, this was subject of the earlier advertised public hearing tonight. So at this time, if you do not have any questions, staff would be seeking a motion and a second to approve the ordinance on second reading.
I make a motion, we approve ordinance 2021-03.
Second?
Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
To new business. Jay's up.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. This evening, I have prepared a report, required annual report for the Maryland Department of Planning regarding our issuance of single-family dwelling permits. This year, the report reflects a total of 3 new residential permits issued. The Planning Commission considered this report in their August meeting and approved it unanimously. And unless there are any questions, if there are, I'd be happy to answer them. But otherwise, I'd be asking for a motion and a second to approve this resolution 2021-30.
Any public comment?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2021-30.
Second. Moving second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you kindly.
Okay.
Following that, I'm seeking a motion and approval for Resolution 2021-31. This is to approve a new member of our Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. Brian Alderton, seeking a 3-year term expiring August 19th, 2024, as well as 2 members of the Planning Commission, J.C. Duncan for a 5-year term expiring August 19th, 2026, and Ray Race for a 5-year term expiring August 19th, 2026.
Motion to approve resolution 2021-31.
Second.
Moving second in place. Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, LJ.
The next resolution is 2021-32. This is in regards to the city's opioid litigation that's ongoing that many municipalities, counties, and states are party to. Last month, you approved a bankruptcy plan for Purdue Pharma, and now the Mallinckrodt pharmaceutical company is submitted a bankruptcy plan. Your opioid case attorneys have not yet formally recommended a vote in favor of it, although they expect to. Based on the city's attorney's advice and that many more pharmaceutical companies will likely be filing bankruptcy as part of this litigation, it was suggested that the mayor and council authorize the city administrator and the city's opioid case attorneys to cast bankruptcy plan ballots for plan approvals and rejections as recommended by the city attorneys. So if you have any questions regarding that, I'd be happy to answer that. Otherwise, I'd ask for a motion and a second on resolution 2021-32.
It's my understanding that they'll still pass the plan in front of us. It's just we're authorizing them to, that they
Yes.
don't have to wait for city council meetings to go.
Correct. Yes, you'll continue to receive the communication from your attorneys.
I make a motion, we adopt resolution 2021-32.
Second?
Moving second, is there any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
LJ, do you want to do this next one? Sorry to have you up and down tonight.
Quite all right. Quite all right. In conjunction with Ordinance 2021-03, the Community Development Department also seeks to alter the fee structure for short-term, seasonal, and long-term mobile temporary business units. Adjusting the fee for short-term mobile temporary business units to $50, seasonal to $75, and long-term to $150, thereby creating perhaps a more equitable fee range for all those types of permits. Additionally, we seek to eliminate electronic payment processing fees, specifically for tax payments only, that had a flat rate of $3.95 for a debit card with a Visa emblem. That's no longer a viable option. It's something we simply don't do anymore, so we're seeking to remove that from the fee schedule. Any questions? We'd be happy to answer.
For the public in general, could you tell them what the fees for the different things were before?
Certainly. Previously, a short-term mobile unit was $150. We're seeking to reduce that to $50. Previously, there was not a seasonal permit. We're setting that at $75, and the long-term was previously $250. We'd like to lower that to $150, thereby attracting more business and making those fees more attractive, equitable, and reasonable.
So like little home businesses can take advantage of that without having big sunk costs.
Exactly. We'd rather not deter
Yeah.
that kind of business. We'd like to welcome it.
I like that.
If there's no other questions, I'd ask for a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2021-33.
I move we approve Resolution 2021-33.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you, LJ.
The next resolution is 2021-34. Last year, you approved a master equity lease program with Enterprise Fleet Management with a plan to transition the city's light-duty fleet, so all vehicles 1 ton or less, to leased vehicles. That program proposes cost savings, increased employee safety, and lower fuel reductions. As part of that planned program, there's 3 vehicles scheduled for replacement this year, and then 1 additional vehicle added for the Parks and Rec maintenance person. You had already authorized the ordering of that small van earlier this summer, but these are the other 3 vehicles. It is a Ram 1500 or half-ton truck for the street department, a Ram 2500 3/4 ton utility bed for the water department with a upfitted with a snowplow as well, and a Dodge Durango Pursuit, which is the police version of the Durango SUV for the police department. The detailed information that was presented at your work session was the high water mark in terms of prices that didn't reflect government rebates, as they are not known. But getting these orders placed now will ensure that we're in the bank of production, and that we might see these vehicles next year. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'd ask for a motion and second on Resolution 2021-34.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-34.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Lastly, as we've, staff and mayor and council have been discussing for several months now, is the American Rescue Plan Act funds that the city was allocated by Treasury. Those funds came through in late July, and the final amount the city was allocated was $8.379 million. those funds are flexible as long as they are being used within the 4 eligible categories defined by U.S. Treasury. And the final guidance has not yet been issued, but we are operating off of the interim final guidance. And there is a time frame in which those funds need to be spent by the end, or obligated by December 31st, 2024. There's a few projects that have been in the works related to infrastructure that this funding would cover, and by using the ARPA funding to cover these infrastructure projects, it allows the water and sewer funds to use those additional funds to do other projects necessary that wouldn't necessarily be covered by the ARPA funds. And then, so those infrastructure projects involve a chlorine tank replacement or relining at the water treatment plant, some rehabilitation of one of the wells at the Savage water source, upgrades to the Piney Dam pumping station that Hayden explained to you at work session. The project that we've been planning that does have some additional grant funds towards at the Centennial Hill pump station and force main replacement. And then in terms of broadband, a very small project for wiring for a wireless access point so that the residents and students, more importantly at Washington Ridge, have access to internet for remote learning. And that was a partnership with the public school system. In addition, as a result of COVID and minimizing in-person contact, one of the projects that LJ presented to you at the special work session on Tuesday was moving to a cloud-based permitting, rental housing, and code enforcement database. That would be, initial setup fee and also an annual maintenance fee. These funds should pay for that initial setup fee and the annual maintenance fees for the first through 2024. And we feel that this was an investment that was planned prior to COVID in last year's budget that got removed so that the budget, you weren't running a deficit at the end of the year. So we think this is a prudent time, and being able to use that funding for that makes it certainly more attractive as well. In addition, this would, in relatively small amounts, but allocate some funding for COVID safety testing. We don't know what this Delta variant is going to present in terms of a response. A vaccine incentive program for city employees, and offering some sick leave for COVID that doesn't, if a vaccinated employee were to have breakthrough illness, that their sick leave would be covered and not deducted from their accumulated sick leave. Any of the infrastructure projects that are over $25,000 and need to be bid would need to be approved by the entirety of the mayor and council per our procurement policy. So several of these projects will come back in front of you in terms of approving the individual projects from that standpoint, but authorizing the ARP funds to be put towards this gives Hayden the go-ahead to start moving forward with these projects. Other smaller projects he'll be working in consultation with either the water commissioner or commissioner of public works, depending on where that falls in terms of the budget and our procurement policies. Obviously, this doesn't even put a dent in the $8.4 million the city will be receiving, but as several of you that were at the Maryland Municipal League were advised last night, taking time to figure out exactly what programs and projects you want to spend this money on is very well advised, and so I expect that probably almost monthly a similar resolution will be coming for you to authorize more projects as they develop and we work through the budget and get a better understanding of what the costs are. So again, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Otherwise, I'd ask for a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2021-35.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-35.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Best dressed man in the room.
I'll wear this every chance I get.
We've noticed.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I have the report for you for the Police Department for the month of July 2021. We had 568 incidents compared to 614 in July 2022. 16 arrests, quite a few public service incidents, 40 requests for officers, 16 disturbances of various types, 21 logged follow-up activities, some motor vehicle crashes, and fairly diverse array of activities over the month. We had a couple of notable incidents, which I know you're aware with through the press releases and updates, but we had the individual throwing the rocks at people in vehicles, very unusual, but he was placed under arrest promptly. And we had the vehicle thefts that ended up being a kind of a network of people in Frostburg and Cumberland. We made 2 arrests in that case, and Cumberland City made some as well. On the positive end, Commissioner Grove and I had the pleasure of going to National Night Out in both Cumberland and then Bel Air. And from our talks, it sounds like we may rotate that to Frostburg next year, so it would be terrific if that panned out. We went to the new barrack ceremony, so we congratulate Maryland State Police on their new barrack, and several of us were there. And we also had the opportunity to get some good ideas for our ceremony. They had a very nice script and a very nice presentation. Our application process is going well. We interviewed several applicants for the position of police officer the other day, so that is underway. And coming up on Tuesday, we have a meeting here at 7 p.m. about the parking rates on Main Street. We're talking about going to the Park mobile app where people can still use money to feed the meter, or they can go to this app and pay that way. But we are inviting the businesses and the public to come and express any input they have regarding how much the fee should be per hour. So we have discussed moving it up to 50 cents an hour instead of 25, but that has yet to be determined after this meeting. So that would conclude my report, unless you have any questions or would like me to elaborate further.
Chief, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it very
Thank
much.
you.
Okay. Open public comment. Any citizens wishing to make comment in front of the mayor and council should come to the podium, state their name and address for the official record.
My name is Rick Lambert, 513 Grandview Drive. I saw the article in the paper about the $8 million and kind of brushed over on what some ideas were for this, and it was like, spend this money on a lottery for an incentive for COVID shots, or give cash, and it's like, is somebody kidding here? I think this money needs to be spent. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but say all of this federal government money dries up. I don't want us to piss this money away and then come to us next year and say, we need to raise taxes. I mean, there's several things in here. The cloud-based thing for the city's permitting, rental housing, and code enforcement to bring us up to the digital age. I mean, everything I'm mentioning here kind of dovetails into fiscal responsibility. 55 years ago, when the city hall was above where the ambulance building was or used to be on Water Street, there's one lady that worked in City Hall. Can somebody tell me how many we have working in City Hall now?
12.
12? Do you think if this town is 12 times, that's what 1,200% increase in people we have working. And I bet you she tabulated every water bill by hand because we didn't have the computer. Computers don't save money and time always. You know, I heard on the radio a couple months ago, we just hired somebody to be a, I don't want to call it a party event planner. Somebody.
That's Frostburg First, the business.
Oh, that's not City Hall? Okay. Can somebody tell me what percentage of CSO we are complete?
Go ahead.
you know, altogether?
Well, it's been going on for 18 years now.
I understand that.
It's scheduled to go into phase 10 come next year. As far as percentage complete, rough estimate, I would say in the 80s, if not more.
I think we're designed and funded through the 80s, and construction probably gets us through 65%.
Okay, I think that's a win-win, you know, with spending the money. You get new water lines, sewer lines, sidewalks, curbs, et cetera, roads. You know, if we can spend money there. And you mentioned that there were 4 specific avenues we have to spend this money on. I don't know what they are. So if I'm, you know, and I'm sure it's stipulated it has to be spent on that. So if I bring something up, you can let me know. But I think this town could use $8 million worth of paving itself.
It can't
actually
can't
one-
just be used for paving, though. You have to tear the streets up completely, replace water lines, sewer lines to get the paving. You can't just spend it on paving.
Okay, well, that's kind of,
The,
That's in the plan, that's in the works.
Mr.
Bob, I haven't seen any kind of paving in the city at all. I mean, it's minimal at best. I mean, my neighborhood's horrible.
If I can interject quickly, paving for this summer actually starts today, and then blacktop goes down on Monday. I'm not sure where your neighborhood is, but there will be paving in the city.
He's on Grandview. He's
Oh.
going to see it right in front of his house.
Matter of fact, you will get paving then. Grandview is on the paving list.
Okay, well, I just want to see this money spent as wisely as possible and not on a computer system that we do not need. I mean, we've got people doing it now, obviously. Just like we've got computerized water bill tabulations. One person used to run the whole thing. Now we have 12. Is like the facade thing on Main Street, is that money up for grabs in this?
That's a program that the mayor and council are considering. The Allegheny County Commissioners are proposing or finalized a fairly large facade program with their ARPA funds, and they have asked the municipalities to match that, and that is something the mayor and council are considering as a potential use for those funds.
Okay. Does anybody think it's ethical in here for any of the council members for their business to profit from that? I mean, I don't.
Well, let me add one thing too. Main Street of Frostburg, you talked about the CSOs. Main Street of Frostburg is still a combined system, and I foresee it always being a combined system if we don't work those in. The rain leaders from almost everything on Main Street goes through the facade of the building, and we've spoken about using the facade grant to actually separate Main Street of Frostburg, if that helps put you at ease a little bit.
So the CSO and the facade are kind of related?
They could be, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Lemert, if I am sensing that you want to see a lot of this money being spent on infrastructure, and a very preliminary idea list and funding allocation that was presented to the mayor and council for their consideration, I think had about 5.7 of the 8.4 million being spent directly on improvements to our water or sewer or storm sewer systems.
I'm with you. I wanted to spend as much as we could on paving, but it's just not how it's going to work, though.
So is there a percentage you can spend on paving without?
Without, no.
No, can't
There's-
spend any on just paving.
No. You got
But-
to tear the street up to do it.
So you're tearing up Grandview?
No,
when
no,
you
that's,
pave.
that's
City
just in our
That's
paving
our city budget.
budget every year that we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is this money, you can't spend it on paving unless you tear up?
Not direct. Yeah,
Unless
not
you're
directly,
putting
yes.
water or sewer or storm sewer improvements in the ground below it.
Mhm.
Okay. I just want to see this money used as wisely as possible
So do we.
to where you guys don't put it out there, we have to raise taxes again.
The thought with investing in water and sewer is that the mayor and council can keep water rates and sewer rates as stable as possible for a generation, and this funding is really an opportunity to do that.
The water system has to pay for itself, correct?
And the
Right.
sewers, yes.
So the idea is that a lot of the water improvement costs are really high, and, you know, and they need to be done. Valves need to be replaced, pumps and so forth, you know, really expensive things. And if they have to be paid out of the water fees, I mean, we can end up jacking them really high. So this actually is kind of a windfall for us, that we can pay for these really crucial water projects and then still keep the water fees stable. We wouldn't have to jack them up to cover
Okay.
those costs. So
Is,
it's a big boon for us.
is this building paid for?
No, there's
Is that something that the money can
No.
go to?
No, can't.
cannot go towards debt service, and it cannot go to lowering real estate taxes, and it cannot go to contributions to pension funds. Those three are explicitly prohibited.
Okay.
I do intend, as we are working on a better website for the city that's user-friendly compared to what we have now, there will be a dashboard created that the public can track the progress of projects that have been approved and the funding, so that it's as transparent as possible of how these funds are spent. And if there's ever ideas of other projects that fall within these Treasury-approved categories, the mayor and council are certainly open to that.
Okay, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Gene, you good? All right, thank you all for coming this evening.